I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. 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 I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, okay?
Hey you. Welcome back to I'm Sorry, Okay? A podcast where we are watching so much Degrassi. I'm Mary here with Paul and LD. This week we watched Season 3, Episode 15 of Degrassi Junior High, Pa-arty. I did not plan how I was going to say that. Once again, every time.
You nailed it. Perfect.
You nailed it.
Like party. Okay. This episode was written by Jan Moore, directed by Kit Hood, and originally aired on February 27th, 1989. In this episode, trouble is brewing for Lucy, whose new love interest is a problem drinker, and Joey, who says he'll buy beer for a party.
Trouble is brewing.
Bruise, bruh.
Get it, guys? Because of beer?
Because
It's
of all the beer.
brewskiing.
And content warning for this episode, we will be talking about alcohol abuse and sexual coercion.
So do you think I really feel like it's pronounced Pa-arty. But I could be wrong.
Or maybe like party,
Like the BC
Oh, yeah,
Boys.
because you've got to fight
yeah.
for your right
right? Yeah.
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think that's right.
They are kind of fighting for their right to party in this episode.
Before we begin, I do want to remind everyone that it really helps the podcast to rate, review, and subscribe. And be sure to check us out on Instagram and Twitter at I'm Sorry, Okay Pod.
All right, so we open with a walk and talk with Wheels and Snake still talking about math, and Clutch inviting himself over to Lucy's house even though she wants to go to Alexa's party.
Gag.
We get a pretty sick "Who is she?" right off the bat.
Hell yeah, we do. Did we all put down this, like, who is she? Were we all wondering who is she?
I am dying to know who is she.
Please tell us more about this look she's wearing.
Well, you have this picture in your notes. She is wearing is it a white shirt with a black vest?
Yes.
And
Like
then
white button-down shirt, black vest.
And was there a tie?
She's wearing a tie, and hoop earrings and a headband.
And she's reading a book.
She is an accessory queen.
And she's signing up for after-school sports.
She's doing it all.
Jock alert.
Ooh, what sport?
I don't know. It's a sign up for after-school sports.
Yeah, and I thought she was talking about calculus or something too. Like, who is this dream girl?
They're gonna be late. She and her like pal are gonna be late for an English exam that he thinks is gonna be easy, and she says that's because he's a brainer.
Not an insult I'm familiar with.
Me neither, but I like it.
Brainer. That's a good one.
I'm gonna start
works.
using that if I remember.
Yeah,
right,
we
yes.
don't get nearly enough from either of these people, really.
No, we don't.
I mean, he's pretty cool himself, but like,
Yeah.
he's just in the shadow of our new dream girl.
The true
Yeah.
who is she?
Yeah.
Yeah, the who is she of the season, if I may.
Although I've got to say, I might have another who is she later on.
Oh my
Oh
god,
boy, I can't
I
wait.
took a lot of screenshots in this episode.
that's great.
So,
I want that.
okay, so we also we get into this like conversation already where with like Clutch and his what did they say, his how he's a problem drinker.
Okay, yes.
So he wants to spend some quality time with both Lucy and some brewskis when her parents are going out of town.
It's very much like he's trying to isolate her from her friends because she's like,
yes.
Yeah.
yes,
I was just about to say this.
yeah. Please go for it.
Well, no, you're like Alexa's having a party and he's basically like, I don't want to go because there's a bunch of Niners, which is exactly what he did like before when he isolated her from her friends when they weren't even dating. Like,
Right.
This guy always peels Lucy away from her support network. We hate to see it.
And it's like, so you're okay with dating somebody who's in 9th grade, but then you don't want to hang out with anyone else who's like in 9th grade.
She's not like the other girls.
Nice.
I don't know.
Creepy.
Maybe.
He also like apologizes for being drunk the last time they hung out when his parents were out of town.
I'll bring some brewskis tonight, all right?
Even though Lucy says like, no, like, please don't do that. Like, it's creepy, dude. Like, you're hanging out with your, like, what, 15-year-old girlfriend and, like, bringing beer over and she doesn't even drink? Like,
Brewskis, bruh.
And we don't really know what it is that he's apologizing for. We just know that he got too drunk, but we
Yes.
don't know if what happens later in the episode is a repeat or if there's something else. Like,
Has it
Right.
escalated, or is this just like routine?
they don't specify, but yeah, he, even from what he says, like, when he's talking with Paul later in his car, it does seem like it was, you know, it's like this cycle where he drinks too much and then he like sort of tries to pressure her
Gets, like,
into like
coercive,
doing
yeah.
things with him that she like doesn't want to do.
she's got a look on her face. She really doesn't want to be alone with this guy. She can clearly feel that something is not right here. But I also think at that age, it's really hard to stand up for yourself and to break up with someone who sucks.
Yes, totally. And like she, you know, there are other times where I'm sure she likes him, and it seems like, even though, you know, I think from our perspective, he's problematic even when he's sober.
Yeah.
To her, she likes who he is generally, like when he's sober, and it's just like when he's drunk that she gets like really uncomfortable, or like when he's trying to like create plans where there will be drinking. But like for her, it's really like him and beer is like the problem. She can't quite see yet that like, no, he's just the problem. Like, the beer is bringing something out in him or bringing out a behavior in him, but it's like him. Like that's part of who he is. You can't separate that from, you know, like who he is as a person.
And I don't think young people were being told in 1989, like, hey, if your boyfriend is like trying to separate you from your friends, that's bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like young people now have a lot greater of an understanding around like what is coercion, what is abuse, what is conflict that's like not acceptable, you know, things like that. And I feel like, you know, in the late 80s, we weren't talking about this stuff. And even if we were, I guess there's like, it's tough when you're a teen and you're in your first relationship or one of your first relationships to see that as like, oh, this is what's happening to me.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of the framing is just he's getting drunk and that's bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's
Yeah.
very one-dimensional, which is, I mean, fair enough.
He's pretty one-dimensional.
Right, yeah. But yeah, there's like a lot more language now to like sort
Yeah.
of define this scenario that like wasn't probably not being discussed then.
Yeah. And yeah, it's the first time that she's really had to consider breaking up with somebody. So how do you do that? Like, none of her friends have, like, maybe Alexa's kind of broken up with Simon, but even that's like totally different. So like, she doesn't even necessarily have someone that she could talk to about this. She's probably not going to talk to an adult about how her teenage boyfriend is drinking. So it really like can be difficult to like figure out what to do.
They didn't have Instagram infographics in 1989
Yes.
to guide you through your life choices.
So speaking of beer, Kathleen is thirsty to get invited to Alexa's party and tries to guilt Melanie into asking Snake if she can come too.
I was the one who paired you and Snake at open house.
Ugh.
I mean, if there's one thing we love, it's it's like a blackmailed pity invite.
She just keeps being like, you like, this is Kathleen's idea of friendship, is that it's like totally transactional. Like, I helped you even though you didn't ask me to, so now you have to help me like with this very specific thing and you can't say no.
And what the hell would Kathleen even do at a party? Like, why? I don't really get like why she's so like thirsty for
She
this.
needs it, Paul.
It's kind of perfectly irrational that it's just like, I could see her being like, I don't care about this stupid party, but I still want to go.
I don't want to go, but I want to be invited.
Honestly,
that's my
I've been there.
vibe.
It's kind of relatable, honestly. It's pretty.
I do feel like I really get her here though, because like it sucks to feel like your friend is going to leave you behind, and Melanie has this high school boyfriend. She's going to start going to cool high school parties without her. You know what I mean? I get it. And also I guess now that we know more about Kathleen's home life, we also know that, you know, it seems like her parents are very transactional.
No, I understand that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you raise the kid because I earn the money. And it's like,
Yeah.
she's not really having good behavior modeled to her by anyone. I can't
Right.
believe I'm defending Kathleen.
No, this is like, of all the like kind of zany stuff that Kathleen's done that we've sort of shit on, basically, it's like, this one kind of makes sense to some degree. And, you know, yeah, she basically is just like, come on, I hooked you up. Like, help me out. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like they're softening her a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, because even you can be kind of desperate to get invited to a party. It's really like the way that she's going about it
Yeah.
that's just like so irritating. But yes, we can all like kind of understand that feeling of like, but I want to be invited to the party too. And especially later, Caitlin also gets invited to the party.
Yeah. But yeah, Melanie is cool and is just like, are you kidding? Right?
Well, she's like, I just barely got invited. I don't
Yeah.
want to like blow it with Snake.
Yeah, it's like, get a clue, bro. Come on.
Yeah, you got to wait until they're a little more established before you start tagging along. But she doesn't know
Exactly.
that yet.
Because they still haven't had a successcul date. And they still won't.
No,
It's
we're going to
not
get to the end of
happening-
this episode.
It's not happening today either. Okay, and so then also Joey shows Snake and Wheels his new fake ID.
His $5 fake, baby.
It's like a Chuck E. Cheese token.
Yeah, so this ID has no photo. It's like just like text. And
Right.
apparently it looks as fake as it is.
Okay, so here's a question. Why does it matter if Joey looks 21? The drinking age in Ontario is 19. Like, why couldn't he just get a fake ID for like 19, which is much more believable than 21? Even though he doesn't look 19
right,
either,
right.
but Snake does.
Snake kind of looks 19.
Okay, yeah.
I would believe Snake in this episode as a 19-year-old.
A 19-year-old named John Bertram.
John Bertram.
Yes, name on the card is everyone's favorite director, John Bertram.
Love that. Great job.
And voice of Principal Lawrence.
Yes.
Yes.
Good job, John.
Way to go, John Bertram. We salute you.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Career of a lifetime.
I love that Snake calls Joey petite.
yes,
And
he's like,
so-
no one will believe you're of age because you're petite.
Such a burn.
It's true, though. He is petite.
He is
he's
very- yeah.
quite small.
So over in the resource center, the teen girl squad is hanging out when Alexa arrives to tell them the bad news. Her parents have changed their minds about the party because it's too close to exams.
No.
But Lucy says they can have the party at her house because her parents won't be home as usual.
Eh.
What could
Her
go
house is
wrong?
always available. LD asks about her plans with Clutch.
I really don't want to be alone with him when he's drunk.
So she's going to lie to him to break their plans, just like she lied to her friends when he and Paul wanted to throw a party at her house in season 3, episode 3.
This is all going really well. I do love a full circle moment.
True.
And Lucy emphasizes like no booze at this party.
Alexa is so stoked. She is high on life, man. She's just like, I love parties.
Well, yeah, and she, I mean, you know, like, you don't want to have to deliver that bad news that the party can't happen anymore. So it's sort of like everything worked out situation as far as she knows.
And I guess they had already bought all of the supplies, which they kind of show up with later. So I think apparently this was like a sanctioned party. And then her parents just
Oh,
kind of
right.
were... Because at first I thought like maybe her parents had changed their mind about going somewhere. But I think like they were going to let her throw a party. That's why they have all these wholesome supplies, like just like chips and like
Chips
pop and
soda,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, so they like changed their minds about it, and that's why they had to like kind of make a new plan.
Kind of messed up, honestly. Like, just pulling the plug like that. I'd be mad if I were in high school and planning a party, and then my parents were just like, actually, no.
Yeah, it was
Planning on
always
all that
this.
baklava.
It, it was always the same amount of time till exams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when they greenlit this plan, presumably they knew when exams were going to be.
Yeah. Come on. Mom and Dad, get a calendar.
Yeah. And then I guess they just let her go out anyway. So it's not like she's staying home to study instead.
Yeah,
Makes no sense.
It's all just a very flimsy setup for Lucy to have another ill-fated party.
Yes, exactly.
Because no one else is allowed to have an ill-fated party.
True.
There's also an announcement after the bell rings, saying that the thought for the day is respect, something that works best when it works both ways.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh.
Right?
Thanks, Principal Lawrence,
Yeah,
aka
apparently
John Bertram.
from John Bertram himself.
Sometimes you gotta lie to pieces of shit to get them to not come over.
It's just real. She literally says she's like doesn't want to be alone with him when he's drunk, which is like a major red flag.
Huge.
And she just doesn't like, once again, like Lucy is put into a situation that she's like not ready for. Like she's just trying to like date and like, which is a totally normal thing to do at this age. And like, once again, like that has to be like turned into something like kind of negative through no fault of her own.
I just want one good thing to happen to Lucy.
Right? Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah. She's not putting anything like bad out there, but she's just getting a lot of like negative energy like back to her. So
I think she put some pretty shitty stuff out there this season.
With her lies.
Well, with her lies and then like scamming on Clutch when he went bowling with the twins instead. Like Erica brought him to the bowl-a-thon and she's just like, whatever, I'm just gonna flirt with him.
I totally forgot that Erica went on that date with him. And he
Yeah.
also was like kind of using that date to like flirt with Lucy. Wow, yeah, I forgot about that kind of. That's sort of how they got together.
He manipulates a lot of people to get close to Lucy, and it's weird because I don't think that they're actually addressing that aspect of it.
Right.
But like, it's really gross. If you look at the full span of the season and the fact that he kind of like, he pressures Paul into pressuring Lucy. And obviously Paul has fucking free will here. He didn't have to go in and like, pressure Lucy. He's gross. But like,
I got a lot to say about Paul.
I bet. I'm sure we all do. But, I still think that he intentionally broke them up and gave him some bad faith advice and like peer pressured him on purpose to see him fail. And that was after isolating Lucy, pressuring her into throwing a party that he told her friends couldn't come to. He's a very sinister character that we're not really being told is sinister. But when you add up all of his actions this season, he uses Erica to get to Lucy. He uses Lucy's house as basically a safe space for him to get drunk. And then he assaults her. Mm-hmm. Got a lot of feelings about Clutch.
And it sounds like that's what happened the previous time that he was apologizing for. It sounds like something similar happened. So yeah, he doesn't want her to hang out with her friends. He wants to be alone with her, and he wants to use alcohol and use being alone with her to try to like pressure her into doing things with him.
I think he deserves to get lied to, is all I'm saying.
Yes. You can understand why she's like, this person doesn't respect her or the boundaries that she's putting up. So you can understand why she's resorting to lying to him. Because she tried to be straightforward with him and be like, no booze. Like, I don't want alcohol when we're like hanging out together. And he just kind of blew her off.
Yeah.
He basically said the opposite thing that she asked to happen. Like, literally.
Cool, bring some beer.
Yeah, like, oh, you don't want booze around? Perfect. I'll bring beer around. Like, thanks, dude. Okay.
Over by the SmackDown stairwell, Kathleen is still trying to pressure Melanie into asking if she can go to Alexa's party when Snake drops by to tell her that the party has moved to Lucy's, and Kathleen is extremely obvious until Melanie gives in and asks if she can come too. Wheels shakes his head no, but Snake is like, sure, why not?
Wheels
Snake
is
could
like,
never say no to someone's face.
I love how brutal Wheels is. He's just like, no.
Wheels is just like, listen, I have been through some shit. I don't need to be polite right now. Absolutely not.
Also, I love this. Like, this is not their party to be inviting anybody to, but they're just out here, like, getting dates left and right.
I love it.
Except for Wheels. Wheels just wants to hang out with his friends.
Yeah, classic.
Well, yeah, he
Wheels.
hasn't gone to school all year, so that makes sense. He just wants to see his friends.
All right, so then after school, Clutch is waiting for Lucy, and she tells her friends she feels really bad about lying to him, but she's going to do it anyway because it's her favorite way to get out of plans.
Have we ever talked about how his car has the world's most annoying honk?
Time should we come over?
No.
It's fucking infuriating. I hate it so much. It's like, of course, that's this guy's car's honk.
And it's like, and I don't even know if we've talked about just aesthetically. I mean, aesthetically, his car is kind of cool. It's got paint splattered all over. It's like, this is why his nickname is like Clutch. His identity is very much like tied to this like car.
No red flags there either. This conversation is pretty complicated. I feel like it feels like there's a lot going on. Like, she's trying to tell him that her parents won't be around, so he suggests going to Alexa's party, like the very party he said he didn't want to go to, which is like cool. And then she kind of has to reveal what's going on when she mentions that the party has been, so it's sort of like there's some truth, but then there's like a lot of like she has to sort of cover her tracks.
Yeah.
Right, she tries to like get out of it like, oh, my parents changed their minds, they're staying home. And then he's like, oh, well, what if we go to Alexa's party? And she's like, oh, it was canceled. And he's like, oh, well, what if we go to a movie? And she's just like, I gotta study, bye.
Yeah,
She has to keep coming up with like excuses.
I've got two things. One, before all of this happens, and I'm so sorry to rewind, but as Lucy and pals are coming out of the school, we get a very brief sighting of my look of the week. So we've got Alex.
Oh, yeah.
Fully winterized. It's supposed to be the end of the school year, so it should by all accounts be like May or June. But nevertheless, Alex looks like an adorable little lawn gnome.
Oh my God, Alex.
He is just like,
It's all bundled up.
he's got this little hat. A big blue scarf, a light. It's maybe a denim jacket. It's maybe a different material. He's got some red gloves. I love this whole thing. Top it off, obviously, with his like signature glasses. I love them so much.
The glasses are crucial to this look.
Absolutely crucial. My second thing I wanted to say was, how would you guys have lied to Clutch to get this story over the line?
I definitely do not have enough experience with this kind of a situation, so I will recuse myself.
She maybe could have stuck with, my parents changed their minds. They're going to stay home and they want me home this weekend too.
Oh, okay.
So then he couldn't try to make alternative plans with me.
So you want one blanket statement that covers all bases and has
like,
no follow-up questions.
I am not allowed to leave my home this weekend at all.
I'm on
Terribly
house
sorry.
arrest.
Catch you next time.
That's incredible. That's a good one. My suggestion was going to be that she starts off with Alexa's party was canceled and some of the girls were really disappointed. So I told them that I would have a sleepover with them. So that it's not
some of the girls. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a couple ladies.
Exclusive.
And
Sorry.
something that he can't come to.
He can't come to. You know what I mean? And it's like, he's probably not going to be jealous then.
You're just jealous.
Right.
And it's still,
a guy like this,
and still has, he's still going to
yeah.
be jealous. But it has that kernel of truth of the party was canceled, and also I'm still hanging out with my friends, and you're not invited. But it's not the full truth, which is, and also I'm repulsed by you because you're horrible.
Once again, here on I'm Sorry, Okay, we just want to make sure everyone has all the information they need before they go into a situation where they're lying to somebody.
Yes.
You're welcome.
You gotta get your lies straight so that you're preparing yourself for success, right? We just want everyone to succeed in their lying.
The way this conversation gets a little chaotic, I think, like I've said before, like I really like sort of chaotic situations and how they move things forward. And we've seen it a couple times on this show, but like they come out of this conversation and Clutch can just sort of tell that there's a problem, right? Like he's got this weird look on his face. He's just sort of, I guess, bye. So I like... Things sort of move forward, even though it's maybe not the most graceful way that Lucy could have done it.
No one's gonna believe that you're studying on a Friday night.
Right, yeah.
So he knows that, like, she's blowing him off, but he can't figure out why, even though the why seems extremely obvious, right? It's because he keeps drinking around her and it makes her uncomfortable. And she keeps telling him that, but he's like not hearing her.
Like they literally
listen.
They started today with him apologizing to her. So it shouldn't be
right.
Totally beyond the pale. That by the end of the day she's like, you know what? No.
Right. He's apologizing and then he's like, let's do the exact same thing but at your house, but it's going to be different. And it's like she already knows, like, but it's not going to be different. That's literally the exact same situation that, like, I wanted to avoid.
You're still the same shitty dude that you were last weekend. And also this morning.
And probably also for your entire life.
Yes.
Yes.
So I actually, like, basically dated this dude in high school. Like, I dated a Clutch in high school. And by dated, I mean we probably hung out, like, a total of, like, 5 times maybe because we went to different schools. But I met this dude at a party. And, like, we hung out a couple times. The first time he ever came over to my house, he showed up drunk. While my parents were home, I was not drinking. We were like hanging out in my basement watching a movie. He nearly fell down my basement stairs. And then we're watching like Mulholland Drive, which is a weird ass movie.
Yeah.
So we're watching a
weird
weird
date
movie. This dude is drunk and he kept like trying to like make out with me. And I was like, what about this situation makes you think that I would want to like kiss you right now? And I had the same thing, like, it was like, as soon as we were, like, quote-unquote dating, I was like, oh, no, I think this dude sucks, but I have no idea how to, like, break up with him. And I'm trying to remember how I even did it.
The real winner of this story
I think it was over the phone.
is teenage you for watching a Lynch film on a date.
I don't remember who suggested that. But I just remember being like, wow, this is like the worst possible like date scenario. This kind of Clutch character I feel like is unfortunately eternal.
At least you didn't go to the same school, so when you did break up with him, you didn't have to deal with him like in passing periods.
And I think for me, it's like I met him at a party where it's sort of like, oh sure, like someone's drinking, whatever. But I didn't realize that, like, oh no, he's just like that. Like, he's just regularly, like, drinking. So it wasn't something that I expected when someone's, like, coming over to my house when, like, my parents are home. Like, that was not something that, like, I would have been doing. But I was kind of like, oh, it's not just, like, when he's social, when he's out, when he's at a party. It's like, oh no, this person, like, already has issues with alcohol.
Thank you for that gorgeous tale.
I mean, just watching this episode, I was just like, wow, like just relating to Lucy a little too hard here.
Like just looking right in the mirror.
Oh yeah. I at this point I've accepted that I was a Lucy in high school.
Wow.
Back to the episode. The twins ask Joey if he's going to the party, and he says he'll be there with beer. Wheels and Snake are not super into this beer plan because Joey's idea is fake as hell and he doesn't look old enough. So instead they decide that Snake should buy it.
Cool. Classic Joey Jeremiah scheme. It's like, oh, actually, you're right. This isn't going to work. Hey, Snake, why don't you get yourself in trouble?
Snake, the most reluctant person.
It is a classic Joey scheme, but it's also like a lot of distribution of effort. So like Joey acquired the ID. Snake is going to be the guy to acquire the beer potentially, and then we see later Wheels
The
carries
muscle.
the beer. So
Yeah.
yes, so they really, I mean, if everyone were on board, it would be a flawless plan and perfect, like a perfect team effort. But
And they do
but it's
sort
Joey,
of want the
so-
beer,
yeah.
but Joey wants the beer the most.
Well, the twins are really into it too. The twins are very into the beer thing.
Yes,
So
they-
I think that bolsters Joey's.
I think
sorta-
Joey wants the beer the most, but I think he also wants the clout the most.
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
sure.
he wants the moment where they show up with the beer.
And everyone's like, ah, you brought beer. Oh my God. I can't believe you got it. I can't believe that ID worked.
Yes.
Our hero.
And they both have long hair now, so I don't know which twin is which anymore. But one of them is like, Lucy said no booze. And then the other one is like, technically they said we can't drink her parents' booze.
Okay.
So this is like kind of shitty to Lucy. I felt like
Yeah.
this is another like she's trying to like set a boundary and everyone is just like going around it.
Loophole.
I mean, I guess Joey and Snake and Wheels don't really know that Lucy has said no booze because she just said it to the Teen Girl Squad,
Yeah.
Right.
which I'm now going to use also. Thank you for that.
Yes.
So we don't know that they've spread the word, but
Yeah.
so I think that it was Heather probably saying, but she said no booze, and then Erica being like,
Yes.
yeah, but
Yeah, Erica's the more wild one.
yeah,
right?
yeah. What if we just do the shitty thing anyway? Said Erica always.
And then also at the beginning of this scene, Joey is like giving Caitlin instructions on how to get into the party, so we can just assume that like he has invited her.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
So the Zit Remedy heads on over to the beer store with Snake in an incredible adult disguise.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there, and obviously I had to pick this as my look of the week.
Oh. Yes, please
Yes.
describe this look for everybody.
Oh my god, he just looks incredible. His brown trench coat with Joey's hat and a tie and a white button up. I think he's got a sport coat underneath the jacket. And I mean, this wouldn't be a look without these like puffy yellow gloves. They look like gloves that you would wash dishes with, except there's like a little cuff at like the wrist.
Oh, I thought
think
they were
might be,
suede.
like- I thought they were suede too, and then like
Maybe.
Shearling,
fur-lined.
yes.
I mean, yeah, okay, but it looks like he's about to wash like a whole sink full of dishes, and of course, blue jeans. Why not?
Yeah,
Round out the
he's like
look.
business on top, casual on bottom.
Why not?
Perfection.
Oh my god.
A++.
And Joey's advice is to just act 21 and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
When he goes to put the tie around Snake's like collar, Joey is like, tie time. I don't know.
Oh my God, so cute.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a little like when you talk to a toddler.
Could you dress a
Aw.
baby?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my question. Have either of you ever had a fake ID? I feel like I kind of know the answer, but yeah.
No.
And then did you ever know anyone who had one?
No.
I don't think I was cool enough for that even.
But I did. Okay,
we didn't even
one
know who was
time-
having parties in high school.
No, yeah, what?
Okay, and Snake is just like completely obvious in the store, and he talks way too much, and the cashier does not believe him or his fake ID.
I have a side note here, which is
Yes.
about the tie and the jacket and the hat, which reminds me that when my partner was a child, his dad wanted to take him to see a movie, and I believe it was either PG-13 or it was R, but either way, it was something that you weren't supposed to be taking kids to. And so his dad dressed him up in a suit and tie to take him to the movies to try and make him look older so that they could get into the movie.
Wow,
So
flawless.
this is really like a move. I've never thought of like dressing up in a suit to appear older.
It's a move for schemers and scammers everywhere.
I also love the right before Snake goes in, he realizes like he has no idea how to buy beer.
Oh, yes.
He's like, wait, what do I ask for?
I just learned this actually last week. I have several Canadian friends, and one of them was talking about a 2-4. And I was just like, I have
Yes.
no idea what you're talking about. And she was like, oh, that's what we call a 24-pack of beer in Canada. And I was like, I got so far in life without knowing this. But just thought I would share that information with you.
The general amount of confusion and like awkward behavior on display when he walks into the store is just like, I feel like this is how I walk into like stores that I'm unfamiliar with now.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, this is me walking into any store. He's just kind of looking. He's like, "Where do I go? What do I say?"
do?
It's
Yes.
like the first time you ever go to a bar and you're like, what do I order? What do people...
I've got to share some more lying advice here because Snake really he barely makes an effort. Like, you've got to believe the lie to sell it, and don't assume the other person doesn't believe you. He basically goes in there knowing this dude is not going to believe him, and he's like, I know I look young. People are always telling me that. It must be my freckles. It's just like no
God.
one said anything about that. Just hand over your ID
Yeah,
and be
dude.
quiet.
He's self-sabotaging. He doesn't want to be doing this in the first place.
He
That's
doesn't,
also
but
true.
also like mediocre men with even just a mild amount of confidence can get away with a lot of stuff. He really called a lot of attention to himself here.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He
And
just
the
needed to act
cashier-
21.
The cashier just points to the old alcohol will not be sold to minors sign.
Don't make me tap the sign.
Okay. So Snake comes out beerless and Wheels thinks they should just go to the party, but okay, I'm sorry, but I wrote but Joey is a little bitch about it and is desperate to find someone to buy them beer.
I wrote Joey flips a shit.
He really just
I wrote
it's the worst of Joey. Yes.
I,
please.
I wrote Joey is the exact opposite of Snake, too confident with a bad plan. He asks a way too old guy who would definitely not want to corrupt the youth of Ontario by buying them beer. Joey, you need someone who will be sympathetic. This guy was alive for World War II. He doesn't care about your beer. That was my full note.
He puts on his fedora to go ask this other fedora'd man.
Yeah.
Did you notice that this man is wearing almost exactly the same outfit as Snake's disguise?
Yes.
He's not
God.
wearing the trench coat, but he's got a white button-down shirt, a tie, a suit jacket, and basically it's not quite a fedora, but it's basically a fedora hat.
Hello, I am an adult man.
I am an adult. Yeah, this dude's just nah, bro.
Perfect. Meanwhile, Snake is just 3 toddlers in a trench coat.
All right. Party time!
Oh.
So LD, Alexa, Simon, and the twins sneak around to the side of the house to knock on Lucy's door. She lets them in, and Simon tells her he can't wait for the beer to arrive. And she's kind of mad, but the twins tell her nothing will happen, which is famous last words for every party.
Technically, they're correct that nothing happens.
It is true. Nothing happens till after the party.
Yeah,
This is
nothing
true.
happens at the party.
But technically, Joey, Wheels, and Snake getting the beer enables that's how Clutch finds out about the party and how he gets drunk, and then he shows
True.
up. So it is kind of
Yeah.
all related.
Tangentially, it is
Yeah.
a lie.
And then darkness has now fallen at the beer store, but Joey is still trying to get random adults to buy them some booze. And the next guy that he asks is wearing my look of the week.
Oh!
Oh,
A big
Yes.
who is she?
Oh, yeah. So this beautiful man is wearing fitted white jeans with a tan leather jacket, and he has a wavy brown mullet. And he also has a very nice butt, which you can see in my screenshot.
Oh, I already noticed.
And he tells Joey to go away because he's busy. So I just really love him.
Get your butt pic fix on Instagram and Twitter at I'm Sorry Okay Pod.
That's a pretty big butt.
Oh yeah, we've got butt pics. So they have now asked at least 20 people to buy them beer. And Wheels wants to go so they don't miss the party entirely. But Joey begs them to let him ask one more guy right as Paul and Clutch pull up.
Why is Paul still hanging out with this guy?
This guy who stole his girlfriend.
I mean, yes. Why are Joey and Snake not more concerned about the fact that they invited dates to this party?
Seriously?
and they're
aren't
not
there?
even there. Yeah.
I mean, Joey definitely would not care about that. We can just take that one off the table. But yes. Snake doesn't seem concerned.
That would be driving me nuts. Like, I would be in anxiety overdrive if I thought that my new girlfriend, who doesn't really know anybody at the party, was going to get there before me and not know anybody and not have anybody to talk to and have a bad time. Like, I would be extremely worried, as I am about everything else in the world.
Very true.
He's missing his date once again.
Yep.
And for what? They don't even really care about the beer.
No.
And Wheels is like the only one that keeps being like, let's just go to the party. But then he doesn't just go. It's like, why? Just leave Joey here. Like, if he wants to hang out in a parking lot all night, he can do that by himself.
Just one more big score. We can make it on this last try. Come on, guys.
It's unfortunate
Joey way.
that works.
And how many times did he? Yeah, but how many times did he say that before we get to Clutch? But yeah, so Clutch agrees to buy them a 24-pack, but takes 6 for himself as his commission. Which honestly, this is the only time I respected Clutch because that's kind of legit. Like, he is doing them a favor, and I'm like, he is entitled to a few brewskis for his
fuck
troubles.
that. No, I'm giving it a no. He's a prick, and if he were like a nice guy, or if he had said something before that, but him just like coming out, pulling out 6 beers, that is a quarter of this case. No.
Yeah,
I'm saying
that
no.
seems totally fair.
How many beers are they going to drink anyway?
It's a party.
Love that we're split on this because, yeah, it feels like a perfectly appropriate power move. to me.
I think
I
taking
do
1 or
agree.
2 would have been fine. I
Yeah,
think taking
and
6 sucks.
I do agree
1 or
that
2.
Yes.
he could have said something beforehand. He could have been like, all right, I'll do it, but I'm taking some for myself.
Yes.
That's
He's already
fine.
like, this is the
That's
thing.
fair
Clutch
enough.
isn't like hard up. He's buying beer all the time. He
Right,
was
he was
already
about to do it
going.
anyway.
He comes out of the liquor store, by the way, and he only has their 24-pack. So he didn't buy any for himself. He was intending to get some for himself. I think he's a scammer. I don't like him.
Of course he
Nah,
is.
it's
Who
a
else is
perfect
going to
scam.
buy beer for minors?
In
Yeah.
2021, he's embedded in an MLM. I don't like Clutch.
Scam Joey Jeremiah every chance you get.
Ugh, I don't mind scamming Joey. I hate people scamming the other two. Snake and Wheels are nice. And also, like, Clutch doesn't know Joey. He doesn't know Joey's an idiot.
It's obvious.
I don't like it. I think it's
And-
rude.
And it's funny, too, when he's in the store, Wheels realizes, he's like, wait, we just, like, gave this dude our money. How do we know he's not just going to take off with the beer? Joey's like, oh, they won't try anything because there's 3 of us and only 2 of them. And Wheels is like, yeah, well, they've got a car, so...
Yeah.
They also asked the question that I myself had not even asked, which is, how does this 16-year-old acquire beer himself?
Yeah, Wheels is like, maybe he has a real fake ID.
I started thinking about it, and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if he was 19 and still in high school?
There it is. Feels like
super,
the most accurate.
super senior.
It's
It
possible.
was
We
just
don't
a
know
thought.
anything about him. It's
We
possible.
know nothing about this dude. I was going to say before, based on the way he treats Niners, do you think we can safely assume that he's the one orchestrating pushing pennies down the hall with people's noses? I'm
Oh,
going,
possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. And so then Snake spills the beans about Lucy's party. Clutch tells Paul he wants to go, but Paul doesn't think it's a good idea since they weren't actually invited.
Yeah, well, who can take Paul seriously when he's still hanging out with Clutch?
Who stole his girlfriend?
Yes.
Like, bro, what?
Come on.
I think they were just like, oh, we don't need to introduce another character. We're going to
Yeah.
just keep...
Right.
Fair
right.
enough. And honestly, it's all a little too real. Like, I mean, to a degree, I believe that this situation would be like something that played out, and someone like Paul would
Yes.
just stick around anyway. But we'll get even more. It just gradually descends worse and worse. This like little dynamic.
I mean, one thing we can acknowledge is that Paul appears to have at least made some personal progress in respecting Lucy's boundaries, because he's just like, we weren't invited and she definitely wouldn't want me to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh, I fucked that up.
Yes.
I'm not invited to this. I'm not about to violate her boundaries again.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm actually kind of like, okay, Paul. I see
Yeah.
you. I see you making progress at a glacial pace.
Yes. Yeah, and we'll get into it, but like there might be reasons that he doesn't just leave, right? Because like it's kind of like, just like, why don't you just leave this situation? But
I think
there's
he
maybe
knows.
reasons.
I think he knows that if he leaves Clutch is going to do something dangerous.
Yes. So back to the party. Everyone is dancing in the kitchen when Kathleen, Caitlin, and Melanie show up. Caitlin tells Lucy that Joey and Snake invited them, and she's pretty chill about it and lets them in.
She kind of looks at them like they're a disease.
Yes.
But she's still like, yeah, whatever. Like, fine.
And they're immediately like, where's Snake and Joey? And Lucy kind of like trolls them, I think. She's like, oh, they're getting beer.
Yeah.
And like you can tell she says it to like make them kind of like uncomfortable, which I enjoyed. That's like some good-natured like roasting someone younger than you.
Yeah, she wants to definitely let them know that they are younger and less cool.
Yes. She's like, you can come into the party, but just like be aware. Know your role. And then Kathleen is, of course, already complaining about the party that she demanded to be invited to.
Yeah.
I think she's just really nervous. Like, as she's walking up, she's like, oh, God, what's it going to be like? Like, you can tell that she's kind of like, oh, I never thought I'd actually get invited to one of these things. Now what do I do? Once again, I feel for Kathleen. When I'm at a party, I have that vibe of like, oh, God, no one's talking to me.
It goes back to like, she probably doesn't actually want to be there, but she just wanted the invite. Like she wanted like that little piece of like reassurance or something. But
yeah.
once you're in the situation, you're just sort of like, oh God.
And Melanie's like, their parties are just like ours. Like right before Lucy's like, oh yeah, there's going to be beer at this party.
Hey.
Kathleen's just like,
But then there's not.
Yeah, and then there's no beer.
And then there is
Well,
absolutely no beer. Okay. And so then Snake, Wheels, and Joey are finally on their way to the party and are debating whether they will, quote unquote, go after Caitlin and Melanie.
nice.
Ew.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate that language. Joey's a maybe. Snake is it's too early in the relationship.
Gonna gloss right over this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how dudes talk.
Well, Wheels doesn't really want to hear it. I think that's where we get this transitional, like, hey guys, I don't want to carry this beer anymore.
Yeah, he like needs a break from carrying a giant box of beer. So they find like a dark industrial type of area to just sort of hang out in.
Wheels carrying this like box of beer is so emblematic of Wheels just like carrying this whole scheme and this whole friend group like on his back.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. And he doesn't even have a beer. Joey and Snake have a beer. Wheels abstains because his parents were very recently killed by a drunk driver.
Yep, let's be a little more sensitivo, guys.
And then they pretty much immediately get busted by the cops.
Is this the same lady cop, by the way?
Okay, I have screenshots in my notes if you will please refer to the evidence. I think that the female cop might be the same one who interviewed Luke at school in Taking Off Part 2, but she's not credited in this episode.
Okay, I thought
She's
it was
credited
the same.
in that episode, but she doesn't have a credit in this one. So, cannot confirm. I did a little side-by-side. I'm pretty sure it's her.
Lady cop, do 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 do. Lady cop, do do.
It's definitely a different male cop, though. So apparently
Yeah.
she has a new partner.
Maybe the old one got like fired for like harassing underage people at a school.
For interviewing children without parental consent.
The way these like children react to drinking their first beer is ridiculous, right? Can we all agree this is like the least realistic thing I think they've ever depicted on this show?
No one drinks beer for the first time and thinks it's delicious.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
but-
is amazing.
Counterpoint, guys who want to be cool and not seem like babies who don't enjoy the taste of beer would respond like that.
Maybe.
Yeah, they're really going hard on the beer, too. Joey also says if they drink some of the beer, it'll be less for wheels to carry, which is kind
That's
of
true.
funny.
That's a fact. That's a scientific fact.
All right, so back at the party, everyone is still dancing and eating chips and enjoying some non-alcoholic beverages when Lucy's mom calls and tells her that their flight was canceled, so they're coming home. Everyone helps clean up, which is nice, but sadly, they have to throw away all the snacks.
Ugh.
Dang.
It's a gorgeous display of solidarity, though.
Incredible team effort.
I love it.
Yeah, this was like actually a really nice moment. Like everyone has to be really quiet while she's on the phone, and then they just like all like pitch in to like get it cleaned up and erase all evidence of a party.
Well, they know that they're lucky to have this place that they get to have parties sometimes. So they're just like,
Right.
all right, let's treat it with respect.
Yeah.
At least someone is respecting Lucy's boundaries.
And honestly, it's probably because they're not drinking,
Oh, yeah. That's
right?
true.
Like all the other parties that she's had, I think like people are just drinking and it always ended up getting her in trouble. But this is just like an actual like they're doing what they wanted to do, which was like we just want to like hang out and have some fun before finals.
Yeah.
Very wholesome.
Wholesome hang.
Love it. So Clutch has apparently been drinking in his car all night and trying to get Paul to drink too. Then he starts asking Paul for advice about Lucy, his ex-girlfriend, and then decides they should go crash her party.
Paul just like narrowly talks Clutch out of driving drunk.
I can drive, man.
Yes, he basically agrees to like take him there. Like ultimately he agrees to take him there because he doesn't want him to drive himself. And then they arrive right after everyone else leaves, and then Clutch pretty immediately starts like physically harassing Lucy, and it's like very disturbing.
Now leave.
Here, you want to have some beer?
Paul sort of tries to intervene, but then he just kind of watches until Lucy gives Clutch a rising knee right to the junk, and he finally stops.
God.
Paul helps him out the back door right as Lucy's parents get home, and then he tells her,
I'm sorry, okay?
He gives us it's not his fault he gets like this sometimes. And I'm like, oh, is that not his fault?
right. Like he had every opportunity to not drink, to not go to Lucy's. Like he's actively making these decisions. But Paul just is like making excuses for him, and it's like honestly kind of weird.
He's defending this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who dragged him into this situation?
No, that's where it just sort of goes back into what I was saying, where like this dude just sucks, and like he's completely enabling Clutch, and like for what? Like we've been saying this whole time, it's like this dude is just immediately started dating Paul's ex-girlfriend. So like what? You're going to hang out with him after that and defend him when he's being a total creep to your ex-girlfriend.
And I do like a little bit in Paul's defense. Like he tries to intervene. Clutch sort of pushes him. Lucy is like looking at him with like pleading, like, help me eyes. I think that Paul in that moment really didn't. He's like, am I going to have to fight Clutch? Like, I'm probably not going to win. Like, I do think he had this moment of like watching Lucy sort of be traumatized in the way that he kind of also traumatized Lucy. But then it like sucks that he doesn't learn from that. He like makes excuses for the situation instead of like seeing like, oh, like this is how I made Lucy feel too. And maybe that's part of why he can't like just condemn like Clutch's behavior.
And I think also
because
sometimes
it's kind of the way he acted.
when you have that's a really, really good point. I was gonna say sometimes when you have a friend who's drunk and acting like erratically, you're just trying to do whatever is going to result in the least amount of damage. Like,
Right.
and I think it's got to be so hard to be like whatever they're supposed to be, 16 years old, and be like, what do I do right now? But yeah, and
Yeah.
what sucks even more is that, like, I'm sure these two dudes don't know this, but like, they're not the only ones who have done this to Lucy.
Yeah.
Like, Mr. Colby was like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
she is just constantly being traumatized by men.
But also, she's like over it.
Yeah.
And it's so sick that she like just like needs this dude and she's just like, no. She's just like, I'm done. Like, get out. She's just about to get away with like throwing this like party that she wasn't supposed to throw. She's almost in the clear. And this dude like basically tries to like ruin it for her
Yep.
after she already told him she didn't want to like drink with him. She didn't invite him to the party. He shows up anyway. And it's like, how much more does she have to like show you? Like, she's not into you, dude. Because that was his whole thing, right? When he's like asking Paul for advice, it's like, she seems like she likes me, but then she won't let me do whatever I want to her body. That's like essentially what he's saying.
We've
Yeah.
made allusions to like Clutch maybe being like similar to Joey Jeremiah, where he just doesn't really listen to other people.
Mm-hmm.
He'll kind of do whatever he wants, regardless of what other people think or how it might affect them. And so it feels like we get a lot of that in this episode. Joey's trying to force them
Yeah.
to buy booze when they don't want to. It's just a lot of like gross behavior all around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and when Lucy's parents get home, she nails a perfect nothing strange going on here. Nope. No. Hi. Hey.
Oh, hey.
Well, welcome
How's it-
home.
Hello. Screaming through a smile, basically.
Oh, it's so sad that
She's lucky her
Lucy-
mom called.
Yeah, right?
She's lucky
really
she got that warning.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's really sad because it feels like she doesn't have the kind of relationship with her parents where she can tell them this kind of stuff has happened to her.
No way.
So she does just have to keep it
Right.
to herself.
Yep.
Right, because it's not her fault that like this dude keeps like showing up drunk. Like, she's not responsible for that. And she didn't know that that's what it was going to be like when she started dating him, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is unfortunate that like because she doesn't have a more open relationship with her parents, she also can't go to them for advice. Because she's telling her friends she's not comfortable being alone with him. Like, if you're not comfortable being alone with like the person you're dating, like that's a huge problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like she maybe could have seen this coming, considering like when she was dating Paul, Clutch was like using her house for a place to drink and like kind of forcing her to have a party.
But I think because it was party based, I think that that's the thing. Like, you don't realize that that's what someone's going to also be like
Yeah.
one-on-one.
Oh, I don't mean I think about the alcoholism. I just mean like in terms of him just being like kind of a schemy, manipulative, shitty dude. No, she had no way of knowing this guy was going to treat her this way. I'll clarify. I meant like she had a little bit of an idea that he sucks.
That he sucks.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so the next day at school, we find out that Snake's parents were mad about the drinking, but are still letting him go to the graduation dance. But Joey is grounded for the first time ever,
Damn.
which I
Ever.
find really hard to believe. Yeah.
What?
No, his parents seem like they don't really care about any of the shenanigans that he
He's
gets
a youngest
involved
child.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
No, I
youngest
believe
child.
it.
He's spoiled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that vibe.
Oh, yeah. Lucy's friends tell her they had a great time at the party, but then Clutch shows up and wants to talk to her.
Won't happen again.
I've heard that before.
And we end with a freeze frame on his stupid face.
Oh yeah.
I wrote, we end with a freeze frame on Clutch, who I couldn't possibly begin to give a fuck about. I really write these notes just for myself, but sometimes I'm like, maybe that should
Yeah.
get shared.
He's all like sad. He's like,
Can't believe it.
I can't believe that I did the same thing that I apologized for just last week, and now she won't forgive me.
I can't
After
believe
I
there were
promised I wouldn't
consequences
do it again.
to my
Yeah,
actions.
I can't believe there's some kind of consequence.
Oh,
And he
man.
didn't even remember what had happened. He says that Paul had to like fill him in on the details.
Yes, that was something missing here. He says that Paul told him how stupid he was acting. And also, he still seems drunk when he's talking to her. He's kind of like, I don't think he's supposed to be. I think he's just not an amazing actor.
I
but
think that's just his vibe.
Yeah.
yeah, but he seems still kind of drunk or stoned. He's like, oh.
He definitely hits like a very dramatic pose when he says he's sorry. He sort of like sticks his hands out from his sides and his legs are. He's sort of got this like move where he's kind of on his toes on one of his feet. It's like a whole thing.
It's like a weird contortion because
Yeah.
it's like, it's almost as if he doesn't really know how to apologize for things. He's doing his best impression of a person apologizing. So, does anyone need to address their enemies this week?
I mean, Paul, there isn't even enough time for this dude in this episode, but everything about where he's at is embarrassing. Like this dude needs to grow up real quick.
Paul wants Paul to stop sullying the family name.
Seriously, bro.
Yeah.
Please.
Making Paul's look bad. I mean, and he's still got great style. So I feel
Yeah.
like he's got something good going for him.
I considered him for look of the week a couple of times, but I was just like, no way.
you can't give it to
No.
him when he sucks so hard.
No.
Yeah, please.
No. Over my dead body.
Can't relate.
This week, I related to wheels because I still hate math and don't get it, and I also don't drink.
I related to the old guy in the parking lot that wouldn't help Joey buy booze. When I turned 21, it was actually really fun for me to tell my 20-year-old friends that I was not going to buy them shit. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, it was great.
I once again related to Lucy in this episode. It's kind of hard when you're just starting to date and you have to try to figure out how to dump someone because you have come to realize that they totally suck. Hopefully next time she can dump a dude much sooner and save herself some trouble later on. So, friends, what did we learn today?
I think today we learned to trust your gut when it's telling you that something is wrong. Lucy is scared to be alone with Clutch, especially when he's been drinking, and she is completely right to feel that way. Snake doesn't think that a bunch of freshmen should be buying beer, and they get busted and get in trouble because of one of Joey's schemes yet again. It's hard to assert firm boundaries, especially at a young age, but I think as we grow older and we gain more experience, saying no is a good and healthy thing that we can do when we don't trust a situation.
Today I learned that enablers really can be just as bad as the actions of those they enable. We saw a lot of gross behavior today, but at the same time, that behavior was facilitated and essentially condoned. I think I picked up on this because of certain music scenes that I'm loosely affiliated with and the kind of like, oh geez, it's not that bad reactions that I have personally witnessed to accounts of abuse at the hands of privileged enabled men involved in that very Chicago music scene. The actions of Paul in this episode aren't just the actions of some puny dork on a teen drama. These are the social dynamics that poison our culture every day. And while I'm just one person and can't fix everything on my own, I'm here to remind everyone who will listen that enablers are disgusting.
Oh! Oh!
Today we learned that for problematic men, having enough clout will usually keep you from facing any real social consequences for your actions. Joey and Clutch seem to be the center of their social circles, but they have no respect for their friends. Clutch repeatedly tries to force his will onto others, pressuring Lucy into throwing a party but not inviting her friends, trying to pressure Paul into drinking and showing up to Lucy's uninvited, and then trying to force himself onto Lucy when they get to her house. But he's got a car, a fake ID, and a reputation that seems to be enough to keep Paul hanging out with him and making excuses for him. Joey never listens to his friends when they tell him they don't want to commit underage crime, and he gets them in trouble every time. But he's also the most confident and outgoing one, So even though he gets them into these situations by pushing them past their boundaries, they still hang out with him and even feel bad for him when he gets grounded. A lack of any meaningful consequences for acting this way emboldens this kind of behavior and often ends up isolating the inconvenient victims of their actions when they escalate to more toxic boundary violations.
You can listen to I'm Sorry, Okay, a Degrassi podcast on Acast, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you enjoy what we're doing here at I'm Sorry, Okay, be sure to give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts.
And thanks for listening. You can follow us on social media at I'm Sorry Okay Pod. OK is spelled O-K-A-Y. And email us at I'mSorryOKPod@gmail. That's it for Pa-arty. Next week, we'll be watching our Season 3 finale, Bye Bye Junior High.